of Killeagh, a village in East Cork. Killeagh, in the 20th century. Killeagh, as seen by their oldest inhabitant, Denis Grahame, a man in his 86th year. Yes, this is the story of the village of Killeagh, as seen through the eyes of an 86-year-old man, Denis Grahame. Approaching Killeagh from the Cork side, we come to the railway bridge, a railway now in disuse, but once the hub of life in the village of Killeagh. The village of Killeagh on the main Cork to Waterford Road, now a busy link between the south of Ireland and the port of Rosslare, where cars and lorries pass through the village at all hours of the day and night, signs of modern living coming to a quiet little village in the heart of East Cork. The graveyard of Killeagh, where many of its inhabitants now lie at peace. Denis Grahame, or Sonny as we all know him so affectionately, when was the graveyard opened?
1932, the new one. The old one was there when I was born, and I understand the old one is on the map at site of an nunnery.
The site of a nunnery?
Yeah.
Remember the old church in the old graveyard?
Yes. That's the one that's there now.
Do you remember when it was active?
I remember when I used to see all the Protestants coming to church there. The Bastles and all them. I went in there and there's only a glorified barn inside that. They named the picture on the wall. There's slates there all right and other things, but it doesn't look a bit like a church.
Well, the old churchyard is where the Grahame family are all buried.
Yes.
And who got that plot?
Huh?
Who got that plot?
Oh, no, that's me.
But there are many of the family. The Grahame family, there was how many in it?
There is.
There was 10 of the Grahame family in it.
I'll tell you now, the Kathleen Herden is a Grahame too, and she's buried there in the grave of the church, and there's a couple of more of them buried there. I don't know, I think they're buried before my time.
Yes, this is the place where the Grahame family plot, established by Sonny's grandfather, who was buried there in 1871, and his grandmother who was buried there in 1891. His father and mother, Denis, 1911. His mother, Mary, 1927. And his many brothers and sisters. There was 10 in the family. There was Richard, who died 1912, Eileen, 1925, Michael, 1926, Patrick, 1928, John in 1930. Then there was May Buzang, his sister, who died in 1951. Kitty, his sister, who died in 1981. Frank, who died in 1985. Willie, who died in 1980, is buried in the other graveyard. And then, of course, there was Bill McCarthy. That's Kitty's husband, and indeed my father and mother, who was Kitty, and Billy, or Bill, or William McCarthy. Yes, this is the family plot of the Grahames in Killeagh. At the graveyard, we're looking at a house that played many a part in the life of Sonny. This would be Mrs. Cronin's house. We'll hear much about this house in our story as it unfolds. You, Sonny, when you came to live with Mrs. Cronin?
7 years.
And how long did you live with her?
I was 42 when she died.
So you lived a long time with her?
I did. The Millery people, when she went to change her family, there was a brother Luke there, turned around, and he came around her and he took away all the cows and cattle, which was 30 cows and cattle the same.
And this now is Killeagh School that was founded in 1940. What did you have to do with the school, Sonny?
Huh?
What did you have to do with the school?
And I had to do with the school.
Yeah. You gave them the site, did you?
I did. I was asked for the site and I gave it. The monks asked Mrs. Cronin and she wouldn't give it to him. She told him, go out and ask me. And I gave it to him. She was Joe, you couldn't refuse that.
Looking down the village now on the main street in Killeagh, we indeed pass Sonny's house, which is here on the left. Here we are now at the church in Killeagh, and in the foreground of the church is the site of the old school in Killeagh, where our Sonny went to school. And we'll be hearing more about that, of course, as time goes on.
And the school was built in 1960.
1860. 1860, and was closed in 1940, when the old school was, or when the new school was built. And opposite the church, of course, is a famous landmark in Killeagh as we cross the road. And it's here, it's the old Tetch. And when we pass behind the old Tetch, we see an old derelict mill. And Sonny has a lot to say about that mill. How long did you work there, Sonny?
I was there over 20 years.
You worked in that mill about 20 years, which is now a derelict.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be hearing more about the mill and the church and the Tetch in our story of Killeagh as related by Sonny Grahame on this, the 27th of October, the ancient stone there. The parish of Killeagh under the inspection of the Kevin, is it? Reverend D.P. James Clancy, 1792.
Yeah.
Rebuilt in 1858. And here beside it we have the Killeagh National Schools, 1860. What did you build around here, did you say, Sonny?
Huh?
What did you build around here?
But I built nothing. No, I didn't build anything around here. You see that national school? That was
The village of Killeagh as it is today. Today on the 27th of October 1990. So now after our visit through the village, we are going to talk to, in fact, Sonny Grahame. Sonny, who was born... When were you born, Sonny? On the 16th of May...
1904.
1904. Well, would you like to talk to us about your young days?
Yeah. I was born in the year 1904 and I was reared here in Killeagh. And I went to school here, and I did part of my time over at Mrs. Cronin's in the church cottage, and I did the rest here, and I was in different places around.
Well, do you remember going to school when you were young?
Huh?
Where did you come in the family? Were you the youngest in the family?
No. I live with the youngest.
Well, do you remember the whole family?
You had John Richard, 1. You had Patrick Edmund, 2. You had Mikey, 3. And you had Willie, 4. And you had boys now I'm talking. And myself would be 5. And Willie, Willie after me.
Willie was older than you, wasn't he?
There was a Richard claim there. He died at 7 years of age with the coup. And there was I can't think of the rest of them. There were 7 boys there anyhow.
There was 10 altogether, wasn't there?
There were 10 in the family, but there were 7 boys, 3 girls. That was the strength of it. Yeah? And the 3 girls were Kathleen, May, and Eileen. Eileen died young. She got the consumption.
Well, were you born in this house?
Huh?
Were you born in this house?
Right.
And do you remember going to school?
Yes. And I'll tell that instance now about school. I was out tinning mangles and turnip at this time of the year, you know. And this night I came home about 8 o'clock, came in the door there, and Dick Purser was there talking to my mother. And what he said is, oh, he's the fellow I want. And I said, oh, what do you want me for now? I want you, he says, to come to school tomorrow, but I'm having an inspector. And he says, your class at the hopeless state. And what do you expect me to do with them? So if they're in the hopeless state and they're in school every day, where the hell do you expect me to be? I didn't see school, so I hardly know what the school so long as I was there. Oh, he says, I know you're good at geography and map reading, and I'll arrange with the inspector to take over the class at that time. So he put into my mouth, And I had to go and get my geography book. I studied up a bit, and that night, and I'd out of school next morning like a prince, dressed up, boot polished and everything. And I went into school, and I was big, very big compared to the rest of them. And I stood down the end of the class, and I was talking to him, you see, and I was in the morning coming down, I was running through my geography books, see, and they weren't taking much notes at all. So I decided, and about 10:30, I got on for 11. Mr. Inspector took over the class. A big tall man with a bald plate and he was here than I had. And we were marched around the map of Ireland. And we had what they call a pet talk on Ireland. Yeah? I was down the end and I was listening carefully to what he had to say. And I listened away. Anyway, the next day when his pet talk finished, he turned to the fellow at the other end of the class to know what was the capital of Ireland. I listened to him and I heard him, and he said, I think Belfast. We were the 32 county that time. And he asked another fellow, and he said Cork, and somebody said other place. Nobody said the right one. And he made a beeline down top of me. Could you tell me, see, the capital of Ireland? Said it very slow. Well, sir, when I was in school here last, it was Dublin. But I don't know, am I right or wrong today? That was all right. He asked me a couple of questions on Dublin. He asked me, I know the population, and I had that. And he asked me some other questions. And the next thing was, he moved off with the class away up to the personal desk. And I would be with my class of dunces. And I gave him hell. And I said to him, you're here today every day of the week at school. What do you be learning? And so long since I was here at school, I hardly know the door of the school. I gave him hell.
You gave the class hell?
Huh?
Were there boys and girls in the one school?
We were all boys. There was no mix of that time. And anyway, the next thing was, Postal sent another fellow down and called me up to the front of the inspector. He said, I'm in for it now, though. And I looked at the inspector. And the first thing he said to me, your name, he said, is Grahame. That's right, yes, that's right. Now he says, what? Denis. He asked me to interview. He asked me to do a couple of questions more on Ireland. Yeah? And he went out with that into Europe. And he asked me a couple of questions there and I answered them. Dick Putson was told by the inspector, look, he says, only for that boy, he says, I'd make you put that class back to there.
And you were the boy? What age were you then?
I'm sure I'd be about 40 or 15. And he turned to, and he looked up the book and my attendance, and he made the Putson put me into 6th class. And I was only in 4th. Yeah. And Dick Putson wasn't long after, it wasn't very long after that Dick Putson went out. And when he went out, I went out. I said I was going to start to give it another no for that. So I went away from school altogether then. That was the finish of me.
Well, you said there was only a boys' school and a girls' school.
There was no girls in our class at all.
But were there girls in the school?
Oh, there was. The girls' school was down there on the other side. They were separate.
Oh, there was two schools
There
together.
were two schools.
And was there a principal in each school?
Huh?
Mr. Purcell, Dick Purcell was the
Dick
principal.
Purcell had the boys' school. Miss Foley had the girls' school.
I see. Well, your father was a teacher in that school.
Yeah,
Was it Dick Purcell got his job?
twice.
He was the principal too,
Yeah.
was he?
Yeah.
Was he the principal in that school?
After I did, Dick Purcell got it.
Well, he died in 1911.
Yeah,
So you were only 7 when he died.
yeah. That's
You're-
all. I was only 7 years of age then.
Do you remember when he died?
I just remember going in the other room and seeing him stretched inside on the sofa. That's all. And I didn't know how he met his death. They told me nothing. It was about a couple of years after I heard about he was in the Killeagh workman's band and was playing up the street, and he got excited and he was standing outside the door or whatever, where he leaned back and his heels went to him and his head crashed off the knob of the door back there. He died. The skull was broke there. That's what I heard afterwards. You see, the funny thing about what the old people will tell you nothing. And I didn't know how he died or for what. Until Jewel and Custon and a couple more old women. Came to me and they put their hands around me.
At that time?
Yeah. Poor boy. That was the downfall of the Grahame family.
Was it?
Child. My mother had the post office here, and he had the school teacher. He was a school teacher, and he was gone, and Dick Purcell bought it for the school, got it. And there was some parties, which I think was Mrs. Cashman, where the post office is now, was all the time complaining about the way my mother was running the post. And every morning there was an inspector outside the door giving her hell, or inside. And this morning she got mad and she told him to take away his post office. And we had nothing. The next thing was, we were young, and I, Frank, and who else? And I bought Eileen. We were inside in the yard at the poor house, and there was a whole heap of boys the gardens there, and there was a Cashman man there who was the outdoor relieving officer, and he was fighting for support for us, and he got 10 bob a week for us then. We were tramps then, so I had to put it there. That's why I had to spend a lot of my time out doing other work to try and make a few bob. Because the first house was getting up, and the who took it was Mrs. Cashman Miller. And that was that.
Well, your father died in 1911.
Yeah, 1911, yeah.
You were 7 at the time.
Yeah.
Now, your mother died.
I don't know actually when she died.
What age were you, do you think, when she died?
Huh?
What age were you when she died?
I couldn't tell you. Because of the way I was overcrowded mostly that time. Yeah.
When did you move?
And I know that she was up there in the small room, she died. And I didn't know what. Actually, I think that what my mother died of was more or less a broken heart of Eileen, because she neglected Eileen.
Well, according to the headstone, your mother died in 1927.
Yeah.
where you would have been 23 at the time.
Yeah.
And Eileen died 2 years before that.
Yeah. You see, Eileen was born after the father's death. And the mother taught her that well. And the next thing was that through poverty and everything else, she got consumption and died. Because we were hit down so low that we actually hadn't a second bite of bread. Out of what, yeah. Only, they say, I was over Croydon and Mikey was there again. And Willie was down at Gould, the Catholic Church, somewhere else. And Pat and Eileen, Pat and John were in Ballyclin with the grandmother. That's how we were scattered out.
So there was only Eileen here.
Huh?
There was Eileen here. Where was Frank?
Eileen was here with the mother all the time.
And where was Frank?
Frank was in Ballyclin too.
And where was Kitty?
Kitty, there was money made up for them. And Dick Potts was behind that money. They were their own collective money for her. And they made up something like £60. And that money went to Kitty's education and John's. There was nothing left for the schools. That's how they were educated. Dick Potts let them do that.
And where were they educated? Where were they educated?
Huh?
Where were they educated?
The what?
Where were they educated? Where did they go?
Who?
To school, John and Kitty.
They were below with the grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
John came up here and he finished his education in Killeagh with Butler. And when he finished there, then he was doing different jobs around, like painting windows for cottages and things. And then the next thing was, he went into the Navy as a writer. And they stayed there. There was nothing doing at home with them.
So you were sent over to Mrs. Cronin?
Yeah. I was taken there, I was 7 years of age. And I was there until I buried her. And I was around 42, 33 years then.
Well, why did you stay with her all the time?
Huh?
Why did you stay with her all the time? Why did you stay with Mrs. Cronin?
Yeah. Mikey was with me, and we were there all right, and she had the milk cows and everything else. And I was going to school and doing odd jobs in the fair for her, and things like that. And Mikey was a sort of a gentleman. He wouldn't ask to do anything. And the next thing was, the brother Luke came around her, and he brought all the cows off the farm, and the cattle the same, which was 30 cows and cattle. And the next thing Mr. Cronin told Mikey and me that the two should go home and make room for the new boss to come in, a steward. And his name was Riley. And we had to come down here again. And where I went to then, I was working below Ballymac for the Cronins, Tim Cronin Company there. And I was going up and down with the globe and things, for Mary Ryan was working, there'd be Mrs. Ryan up here. And I was there for a long time. I was there for a few years. And next thing she said, Barbara, the next thing was she felt phone with this Riley fella. He about 2 years, I think, with her. He used to go out for a few drinks by night, and I believe when he had a few drinks with him, he was hard to manage. And she said, Bob Brown asked me to bring me back, so I didn't want to go back. And I said to her, I wasn't going back. So you hunted outside for to make room for the military people. And now when things are going wrong again, you want us to go back and shift the panels. So she played it and I had to go. But I went back then. Mikey was working very quick air zone. And when he was finished there, he had to work in England. And I was at home all the time. And that was all right. So when this was Annie Riley, she wrote to the lad Abbott and told him that to take him away, that she couldn't send him. And they came down and took away them all over. There was no steward there then, only Bet Daly. And Bet was there and I wouldn't take him, no, sorry, let me carry on. And the next thing was, they had a big lot of thrashing. They had a thrashing machine there, thrashing for a couple of days. But there was oats there and there was wheat there and everything there. And I was Sunday evening, I was sitting inside in the parlour and I could hear all the trotting around the house, and I went out to the door and I see the haggard was on the fire. And I said, wait a minute, and myself went out to see the house burning, and we looked at it. And all went to start to the place there then, and he was looking for pikes. And but they had a few pikes to him, and he would surrender the pikes for there. And that was all right. Started went towards Killeagh, and Killeagh gave him 2 bundles of pikes, new. And them pikes were taken out of it altogether after. But you see, everything seemed to go wrong then. It was all right then. The next thing was, John Grahame was brought along as a new steward from Corbin Mountain. And he, of course, he was delighted with himself.
Why were you never installed as the why were you never made steward?
They kept me out with it. The other them monks were very tough. And she didn't do anything about it either. Yeah? No, I was kept out with it all the time.
And you used to do much farming there?
And I had to take out the master by Sunday and holiday. And I had to go to the stations, from the station with the money, eh? And I spoke to her a few times, but you get nowhere. Tough out. Then the next thing, she made a will, and willed the place to me. And the monks that said, when they were told about it, they didn't want to hear anything about me. Anyway, I was going into, I'd be about 45 then, and I didn't want to bother with farming then. Because if I got to farm at, say, 21 or so, I'd be more seasoned to it. But starting at that age, I'd find it very hard. So I didn't bother.
Well, did you do much farming there?
Huh?
Did you do much farm work?
No, very little. Very little.
Well, used the stewards do all the farm work?
The military people didn't want me to be working there at all, only because they had me satisfied to keep me there against her wish. See? And she didn't, so long as she had me there, she was happy. So the wrong couple she was after.
I see. So do you remember when she died?
Very much. So I had to go and do the garden with her. And Kitty with me. 2 hours. I said, no, she died at 8 o'clock in August, in the month of August. One evening I came out from work and I gave her tea and took up other things for the tea. And about an hour after she started to die. And anyway, I went out to look to get a spoon of tea for the night, and now I got that. And so the next day I had to clean, started bringing his family and things. So I closed the doors altogether. Yeah. And there was a hearse from Yall, took her to Dungarvan, to there she'd be buried with the road paper. And I had a state managed car. Kitty was the 2 of us went there. And we came home in the evening of the car because what do I call him? The Slatteries. Paris down to a pub, and they were talking mad, and of course they were mad about it because we looked after their auntie.
Well, did you have much to do?
Huh?
What did you have to do for her?
I was responsible for her. That was the I should give her, in the winter, I'd give her a hot chair in the bed. I'd have that in the hot water in the kitchen boiling, and I'd take it up and I should throw the clothes back and push the chair in under the clothes to her, you see? And oh, you're the best of them. Oh, you're a very good boy. You know, that old thing. Yeah? And maybe in the winter I might wake early in the morning or do the same thing. I was like kind of close into on the finish.
Well, were you like a home help?
Huh?
Were you like a home help?
No.
Did you get her meals?
I used to get the grub at Lynch's. I get anything I wanted to get the Lynch's.
But who used to cook the meals for her?
Huh?
Who would cook the meals for her?
Kitty used to.
What? Kitty here. Did she cook the meals for Mrs. Cronin?
She would.
What age was Mrs. Cronin when she died?
She died at 95.
Was she 95?
Yeah.
And was she able to get out of bed then? Who used to look after her in the bed then?
No, Kitty used to look after that.
Was she?
No, she was fairly active, all right that way.
But you used to be there at night, was it?
I was sleeping in the room across the landing. And during the night she was probably I'd hear her call me and I should come out with her. And I tell you the truth, that when she died, I thought it a great relief to me to get her off my shoulders. But I know there's no more good to me. And the Lord ever said told Brother Finian that I was not to be shifted out the room I was in. That room was mine. But when Norman came there and he half a dozen children, I flew out down here altogether.
Well, when you were with Mrs. Cronin, when you were living with her, where did you work?
Huh?
Where did you work at that time?
Oh yeah, every day.
But where were you working?
I might be working in the Killeagh sawmills. I did 5 years there. Or I might be working in the mill. Or different places.
Well, do you remember working in the sawmills?
Yes.
And what was it like?
It was all right. There was an head long with me, and two of us used to be working, cutting the timber and everything together. Yeah? And I should heat the engine and put it going. 20 horsepower oil engine.
And then you moved to the mill.
Huh?
What was the mill like? Life in the mill, working in the mill.
The mill? But of course that was water power. There was 25 horsepower turbine there, driving that. But a fitter taught me that I will do the job there. He taught me from 12 and 16 horsepower. You see, our road was running in the middle, more or less for income tax and anything else. And he didn't care so long, so he would get this man looks out of it, see? He was no good otherwise. Because I said, boy, I was sent to the postoffice one day to ring R&H for maize. And the fella at the other end of the line said to me, listen, he says, would you take 100 ton of maize and say you'll get £1 a ton off it? I said, I would today if I was the owner, but I'm not. I'm not the boss at all. So that letter was in the office that following morning, and Ron and just called. Now, getting £1 a ton off it, that was £100. Ron and He had too much money. He was only running the place for to avoid income tax.
Was it hard work?
Huh?
Was it hard work?
No, you don't know. You get used to it. You're human, you never day, you get used to that. Mind it a bit.
Well, you had to go up the wood quite a lot.
Huh?
You had to go up to the wood.
Oh, I had. Turn on the water every morning. And go up again in the evening. Turn it off. So that was only an area for me. I'd go out about 5:30.
You'd walk up, was it?
Sometimes I might cycle.
If you forgot to turn it off, what would happen?
Never to God.
And what happened to the mill eventually?
Huh?
How did the mill get burnt?
What happened?
It got burned, the mill.
Inexperienced people working there. You see, Sweeney bought the place. He bought the machinery for 600 quid. And he thought he was going to do the difference. He put all the machinery out the mill. I sit out in the yard. And he put down all the laps and tried to make a grain store of the whole lot, see? And he had 4 or 5 of these fellas, so the Barney fishermen. They were there and they were working, they were looking after a grain dry out there. And the next thing the grain dry had fire and they were asleep, drinking pint bottles. And they woke up in the morning and the place was on fire.
Tell us about your work in Ardnacrusha.
Huh?
You went to Ardnacrusha one time, in Limerick.
Yeah.
You went working on the ESB scheme, the Shannon electricity scheme. What happened that time?
I don't know. I was out with him. I didn't work for Sweeney at all there.
No, but in Ardnacrusha.
In Ardnacrusha?
Yes, in Limerick.
Yeah. I couldn't tell that happened there.
How long were you working there?
I was only there 9 days. I got sick and I was sent home. The doctor there said, I must send you home to your own place, but there's no room here, he said, and there's 2 huts full of people, and Limerick hospital full, and I must send you home. So, when I was all right, there was a fellow at the company in, about to cut up all the iron in the air road for scrap.
In Killeagh, in Mogeely.
Above Ballyquirk.
Ballyquirk, yes.
And I got 9 pence an hour there and I stayed there.
How much an hour?
9 pence. And I stayed there. And I was there for about 18 months. We were cutting up all the iron and loading it into railway trucks for everybody else. Then after that, the water scheme started here. Bringing the water from Ballyquirk and down here. And there was only 7 pence happening out there. Main old contractor. And a big crowd of met it. Because they had it and nothing else. The toll was not good. There was like a couple of bob a week.
What about, were you always working?
Nearly. I got that hand there and tongue cut with this after saw. Hitler.
Yeah.
All told there and Dr. O'Brien patched it up.
Mm-hmm.
And,
We see it. Where is it? Hold it up there. What happened to your nose?
I was caught in a settling building explosion below the organs. I was locked at the time, and there was a part of the machine blew up, bumped off the sail over my head, came down, it blew up, I cut me here, and tore my lip back there, and it broke a cheekbone with the organs chest there, and I was knocked out, and the Benjamin nose was broke, and they turned around the insurance crowd, and they got in Glenville nursing home. They turned around and they operated my nose, and they removed a gristle rib from beside there, and they opened the gristle rib, the two ends with, and opened it there to keep the folds open, and shoved it up over the cheekbone of my nose there, and put it in there like that. Eh? That cost £40.
How come you never got married?
Huh?
What about the girls in your life?
Well, I tell you, I was going with one girl, and there was an objection. Lynch objected to me going with this girl. She was small and she was old, and I wasn't interested at all. And she threatened to attend the parish priest if I would give her up.
Why did you have to give her up?
Because she thought she wasn't the type of girl that she thought was right for me. Eh? And Joe Lynch was still alive. So I gave her up in the finish. And I was over quarantine in Batherlack for a long time again. I was amazing not be alone then, no. You see, you had nothing to entice you to get married. There was no outlet for marriage. You never discovered. And a couple of bob you were earning, you minded it. You had no big money like today. Yeah? No, there were two girls above the head over, Nan Lynch and Margaret Lynch. And they were living above there in a house. And they were from a place called Strancally, in the water side. Anyway, Margaret had a crush on me, and she was all the time looking for, and I might go up the wood for a walk, and I might run into her there or someday, and other times. And her sister was with her all the time. Anyway, I didn't approach marriage or anything else because I thought that I wasn't a suitable friend for her because she had a lot of money. Anyway, the next thing was I was meeting her very often. So this time anyhow, she went down to the Killeagh Wood in Ladies Bridge, and I met her sister in the hall under the blockade procession, and her sister was a small girl. She was in charge of the county hall, and I said to her, "Tell me, what is Margaret doing out of her? What's why she be getting married one these days? That's in your hands." I thought exactly it fell down me. So anyway, she told me then, "Listen," she said, "you go down to Clary's Wood to Margaret. Says you want it there, nobody else." So anyway, I went down this day, and she showed me out around the place and everything else. Very nice, because I didn't do anything big at all. Kept quiet, and I had my tea there and everything else, and I came home. And I think I visited about three or four times. Anyway, of an August bank holiday, I went down with the purpose of questioning on marriage. And when I went inside the door, I was challenged. Where are you going? I said, I just called there with a few books. She was mad about farming books that I had in the Farmers Weekly.
Oh, you brought her a present?
Yeah.
Of what? Of the Farmers Weekly? You brought her a present of the Farmers Weekly?
Yeah. And I had him. And she said, look, she said, it's hidden for you to be talking about beer on Killeagh and calling me bag. Now, there were 2 in Killeagh I was visiting home at the time, not 2. And the next thing she ordered me outside the door. And I went and didn't come back. And I went back there again. Stopped powder it. Left it there altogether. And her sister approached me a couple of times in the hall. And I gave her no answer. Yeah? That was me.
And why did she put the run on you?
Huh?
Why did she put the run on you?
Jim Joyce was telling her that she thought the truth. You know Jim? He went into her and told her lies about me. Eh? And it was found out afterwards. The next thing was, when Jim thought he'd be hunted, he turned around and brought a long cousin of his own to make a mess there, and he got the door.
Oh, he got the door too?
Yeah, he did. She fired the 2 of them. Eh? So anyhow, I just said that. I met her, the last time I met her was over the Grahame, casually, didn't expect her at all. And, hello, she said, how are you? I'm good today. I thought, she said, I'd never again see you.
Huh?
Well, so you're seeing me now. And about a month after that, she was dead. She had cancer.
Yes, we're still in the village of Killeagh, but now it's a sunny Sunday morning on the 29th of October 1990. People are just coming home from Mass.
She's 23. She's 23 there the other, in June. So she's only working for the last 2 years. She's only working 2 years yet, So I'm telling you, if she decides to get married, we're telling her we're all coming.
What about the other two? They come there?
Well, I think it's 2020. And she's on her 3rd year. And Emer is looking to her.
From one to the other of them. I said we hadn't a minute idea.
But you know what?
Nolan is at home 3 weeks and I didn't see him yet. So we booked our lunch today in the Shin and we're going down to Yard to see him.
Good.
Because I said every Sunday
we were going to Killeagh for the weekend with the caravan.
But just the weather was so bad.
Yesterday was desperate.
So I said we're always running to someone. Always, but I suppose it's a good way to be that I'm married nearest really.
And if you go to one, won't go to the other, then they'll say you were at help twice.
It's going to do me a bit pity, but I'm not.
He's all right. He's all right. Isn't it a beautiful, lovely?
Into the book.
You see, your youngest.
Kind of an afterthought.
Well, I'll tell you what, no, it didn't. You know what I mean? Due to the fact that there was a slight...
And yes, this is looking up Cork Road in Killeagh. Down past the Willie Graham's and the post office that was, now Burns, and of course, our narrator. Famous landmark in Killeagh from many, many years. O'Brien's, John O'Brien, who died in 1951. The O'Brien house and shop since about 1948.
Oh my gosh.
Well, this guy he's doing is taking penny photos.
How are you?
And taking our narrator, Sonny Grahame, yes, taking him with us now, we're going to head down the village and perhaps go up the wood of Glenbower, the famous place in Killeagh. The church in Killeagh, Church of St. John the Baptist. And this now is the site of the old school in Killeagh, where Sonny's father was principal until he died in the year 1911. The old mill, where Sonny recalls his many days of working, and the thatch. Looking up the river, the shore, down here on the banks of the shore, the women of Killeagh in the old days used to bring their linen to wash it. There was great washing properties or cleansing properties in this water, the water of the shore, which flows down from Glenbower, which we shall shortly be visiting. Killeagh House, home of the Hogans. Sonny worked in the sawmills in this yard of this big house, which was also the constabulary barracks in Killeagh.
He said it's on the map, the Killeagh house is the other side of the street.
So the Killeagh House is not Hogan's.
Huh?
The Killeagh House is it's where Paddy Power now lives.
Paddy Power owns the Killeagh house.
Yeah. Did your grandmother live in the Killeagh House?
Never heard.
Did you not?
No, never heard.
This now is the Killeagh House referred to by Sonny. At the opposite side of the road to the Hogan's. We're in Glenbower Wood, but where are we?
At the metal bridge. That's actually the first bridge you made. Where I had houses up there.
Do you remember May Sunday in Killeagh?
Who don't? In my young days, May Sunday was a mighty great day. Wagonettes and sidecars. You see a fella, they go along the wagonette and he playing the lords and hanging out inside here and they playing. and I have tail supports tied up alongside him.
And why was it called Glen Bower? Why was the wood called Glen Bower?
That's a question I can't answer. You have to go back to the landlord for that, not me.
What are you coming into now?
The White Bridge. That was.
What was the White Bridge famous for?
Huh?
What was it famous for?
What was its name for?
Famous for?
It's called the White Bridge. It's on the main road up the wood. They got it white now. There was the metal bridge, the white bridge, the green bridge, and the black bridge. They were the three bridges in the wood.
Who was the landlord here?
Sir Arthur D. Capelbrook.
Was he a good landlord?
He was. He was very good to the poor. He always said the poor would have a Christmas dinner and he'd buy and also firing.
Well, did he own half the village as well?
Huh?
Did he own the village as well?
He did, and a lot of farmers around.
Well, did you buy the house off of him?
Yes.
And how did you buy the house?
I bought it through his agents in Dublin. Through Mr. Hodder, the solicitor, in Youghal. When he was in his office there in Dublin, he said, "It's a mighty big place." And they didn't want solicitor there, but they doesn't have them.
Well, did he sell off? When did he sell off the houses?
To the government took that bought it for him.
But how come the government didn't buy your one? Did you always live where you live?
I did. You see, we were told that the government had bought out Glenbower and they were willing to sell to those that owned it, like each tenant, at £100, farmers and all. Eh? And I didn't go there sometime after that, but I bought them for £84.
The two of them, was it? The two of them for £84?
Yeah. Because, you see, the government gave him his money for Glenbower. And then the government said they'd sell to each other at £100. Yeah.
And now we have the view from the White Bridge. White Bridge, where there was dancing and singing every May Sunday. In the background you can hear the water rushing through the glen. Glenbower, Lownbower, the deafening wood. It was either the deafening effect of the water rippling over the stones, or else the sound of the birds in Glenbower, who can be very, very harmonious and very, very elegant on a fine summer's day. Lownbower, the glen of the deafening sounds. You spent a lot of time in the army, in the FCA.
Yeah.
How many years?
I've been in about 10 or 12 years.
Was that your main hobby?
Not at all. It was only a side life. It was an emergency job during the war.
But you got a medal for being in the emergency service.
Yeah, I got 2 medals.
And what did you have to do in those days?
Huh?
What did you have to do?
You'll be doing different things, surgery. You'll be around on tactics around the fields, different things. Or you might be in Middleton on a field there, so on like that. Different things you'll be found out with.
Did you enjoy being in it?
Yes.
You do the cooking? Who did the cooking when you were in barracks?
That was always done by, well, if you were in barracks, you're qualified cooks. But there'll be like more or less sandwiches and things for you. Or if you were in Middleton, some of the catering houses would be catering for you.
Do you remember when the electricity came to Killeagh?
Yes, 1940.
What was the biggest change?
The biggest change? Like when I came first, it didn't only a few houses lighting, but they didn't want to take it. And then they gradually going into it. And it took a long time before it took a real hold.
The lake that was in Glenbower, the lake which was abandoned 2 years ago when the dam was opened and the waterfall locked off. Now we're looking at the sluice gate. The sluice gate where Sonny, on many an early morning and many a dark and wintry evening, came up here and opened the top of this, or closed it, to let the water flow into the mill stream so that the water would turn the wheel of the mill and help to grind the corn that was there for that purpose. We're now looking at the lake that was in the background, overgrown with grass, covered in weeds, a derelict and desolate site, a place that was once the envy of Killeagh, a place of beauty in the heart of East Cork, in the heart of Glenbower. Looking up again towards the lake and looking down again. Richard John Uniacke, Attorney General for North Scotia for 33 years, born in 1753 at Castletown in this valley. Died at Mount Uniacke, Nova Scotia, 1830. He was the first president of the Charitable Irish Society, founded in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's a short trip to Garryvoe Strand. Garryvoe Strand on this October day, where the sun is shining between the showers and some kids are out at play. And we look across the bay and we see Ballycotton Island. To the right of Ballycotton Island is in fact Ballycotton Village, all being seen now from Garryvoe. We're looking at Ballycotton from the other side, because we have arrived in Ballycotton, looking down at the waves and the island.
I think also. Breathing in and breathing out, that's a lovely fresh air. Take you.
Yeah, record.
Yeah.
It's
Definitely keep recording now until you press it again. Alright?
I'm recording.
Right. You can actually move it when it's recording. Bring it closer. Hit the button and come into focus.
We're now going to talk about Mary Loughlin, who would be Sonny's granny, and who is buried in the old graveyard in Cloyne, opposite the Round Tower in Cloyne. About Mary Loughlin now.
What I know about Mary Loughlin is that she got married to this Loughlin fella in the Brown Bog. That'll be going down there by Pumpers. And she brought £300 there with her. And this Loughlin fella took her to Dublin on honeymoon. And they were there for about a week. And after the week, one morning, he said, I'll be back in a half an hour. And he went off out with all the money and skedaddled to America. I left her there. Now, Nanny had to come home again with her hands hanging, and the Lachlan's wouldn't let her in because she had no money. And she had to go then down to her brother in Clampriest, who, good enough, provided her with the grass of a cow and also the grass of my lady's in it, and gave the house to live in. Herself and Johanna, who was disfigured a lot. As a matter of fact, Johanna couldn't talk any English or the Irish, and she was a smoker shock pipe. So that was that. The next thing was my mother was born by Nanny Lynn, and she was reared in Ballyclin, and the Mooslanders left her carry on there, and she was educated from there, and she went teaching in Grahame or school, and I don't know how long she was teaching there, but at the meantime my dad fell in love with me, and he married her. He down to Belmacoda, and he got married to her, and he brought her home, and the way he brought her was, he brought her into Castlemartyr and down the Ballyquick Road for home, and old Nolly Foley stayed him passing, and he got an old shoe through there through. So they did the wedding. So they had a school teacher, and Mary was in the post office, and that was kind of, of course I was very young then, I didn't know, and that was carried on that way. But what I was told by a couple of people is that the Grahames in Killeagh were deep people, and there was a Bridgie Powell, I'd be John Powell's wife, up Cork Road. I was up in there a couple of times, doing a bit of waterwork from fixing pumps and things, and she says to me, Denis, she says, if your father and mother lived, sitting here working for us, you'll be. And no, she says, you were the deep people that killed him. In front to Killeagh. Now, father died through means of a fall at the door. At the back of his head, hit the knob at the door, cut him, and a couple of more old women, they put the heads around me.
Nanny lived until 1935.
Yeah.
Down in Ballycrennan. Now, she lived with her sister Joanne. Was there anybody else in the house?
There was Johanna, small woman, was there. Then I remember seeing her there too. And she used to smoke a short pipe, and she used to talk to the Irish, she used to talk. She had no English.
But was there any man in the place?
them two were put into the house by the brother. See? After...
What was the brother's name?
I couldn't tell her.
What happened to the farm after Nanny died?
What?
What happened to the farm after Nanny dying?
Actually, the Mooslanders claimed the farm back. And John tried to fight it. And there was a will on the farm above in Middleton, in a farm, a man that his name was Dooley, solicitor. And John went up to him to see the will. And the solicitor told John, look, he says, the will was never signed. You can do nothing about it. But John was going to take the case into court only for that and put Buzan out because Buzan actually grabbed the farm from us. So I put here.
How many acres were in it?
80.
But your Nanny wasn't able to farm 80 acres.
Huh?
She didn't farm 80 acres, did she?
Well, 80 acres. Nanny knew the size of the farm. That was 80 acres. Yeah? And the both ends the way they were working was they'd till a bit and maybe do a bit of thrashing and things. They weren't doing a big lot of tillage at all. It's only when Mikey got married to Nels Canty that he turned around and he went in there in spite of John. And of course he came around many years, you know, for he brought down a bottle of whiskey and put up to the table to her. And when she see the whiskey, everything was okay then.
Yours Nanny come to Killeagh much?
Huh? In the Ginnet trap. Oh, I often see her there. As a matter of fact, it was a lady which used to collect her pension, and it was John got the pension for her. It was only 10 bob a week then. And when she got ladies for to collect the pension, she might buy a ham first to be sent down towards the top. I had to go to ladies for a pickled ham, they call it. I'd be told, go to ladies and collect that ham and bring it home either. She'd buy that out of her money. Yeah.
Now, when your father died, there was 10 of you. Now, Richard was the first to die. He died a year afterwards.
He died at 70 years of age. He had a croup or something. I didn't know, I was too young, but something like that, yeah. It was in the throat.
And then Eileen died.
Yeah.
Was Eileen nice looking? What kind of a girl was Eileen?
She was one of his cool girls. I'll tell you now. Mrs. O'Mahony, you know, that's Maureen. They're the one age. But the two were considered together. Yeah. She was, I suppose she was about, can be about 14, 16 years of age, I think.
But then Michael died after that.
Yeah. He was, Michael, he was with me over Cronin's, and he was very pruny and had to, you know, toast and all that sort of thing he wanted. And he was always had his fairly good suit of clothes inside, you see. And he taught Mrs. Crowley to give the farmer and she refused him. And he drank with it after that.
But what was he doing in England?
And one occasion we were taught to pushing an ice cream cap around Manchester or somewhere. And Jimmy Fair.
Well, did he die at home?
He did.
He died here, did he?
Yeah. He came home then, and he was working in a housing scheme in Ballycorrigan, where they were building houses for the ex-servicemen. And he was on that. And he was in a job that he wasn't able for. And it's Jim Pickens, Mrs. Pickens' husband, went around the back of one of the houses one day, and he see him and he reaching blood up. And when he came home, he thought about the houses. And the doctor was got. And the doctor sent him up to Dunrail. And I don't know how long he was there, but he died there.
That would be the TB place.
Yeah. And to make a heaven's care, and one of the drivers that brought him home to Killeagh in touring car that time. That's what wasn't popular. And I put him into Killeagh that night.
Well, then there was Pat.
He was second oldest.
He was the second eldest.
John was first, Pat was second.
But what was Pat?
Pat went in the RIT.
And where was he on duty?
Up the country. We arranged for to keep him up the country, but he couldn't go home holidays or anything. But he'd be shot. But the mother was getting letters shoved in under the door every day, threatening her, and advising her to get him to take out the jacket. But Pat went into the place in spite of John or anyone of them. Yeah. He told John to say, "I've my mind made up noises that I'm going." And that's right in the middle of the trouble. So he ended up to Dublin and joined the place, and John arranged with the place authorities to keep away up in Lanford. He was stationed there.
He never got married?
No. He was there then, he was the man down the place when the country changed over, and he had £1 a week pension. And he was here then at home, and he was padding around with Jack McCormick and that son, see? He was tall.
And what happened to him? He died in 1928.
He had a habit of walking in the fields when they were wet, and he had a pair of boots and they were leaking. And he came home one day. I remember coming in here in the street, and he was at the fire, and he drying the stockings. No, he took the boots off, and he was drying the stockings. And there he was, and he catched them and handled them, and wool you don't know when to dry. He put them on him, and he got consumption. I was working in the middle of the time, and I was called home, and he came down there to the table, downstairs, and he gasped for air.
Well then, John was the eldest.
Right.
What did John do?
John joined the Navy as a writer and stayed there, but they came out in pension.
Well, he was in the First World War, was he?
Right. Yeah.
What ship was he on?
He was in several of them. And the lot of photographs of the ships he was in, they're in the book in the room.
And what does a writer do?
Huh?
What does a writer do on the ship?
More or less office work. Yeah. They call them writers around different things.
And how come he died as well?
He got in the, well, he was out fighting with a whole lot of them. And they were all dying. And he thought to himself, he wants to look, he wants to come out with it alive. So he came home then, and he had consumption, whatever was there. And they put up the mountains in Dublin, and they put him everywhere. For sea air was not good for him. He was too long at it. And in the mountain area, and they shifted from here up to the mountains. But there was a special place for him.
And where did he die?
Huh?
Where did he die?
He died in the incurable in Cork.
And he was buried in Cloyne.
Yeah. The grandmother asked for him to be buried in Cloyne so that he be between herself and Johanna.
Oh, Joanna's there as well?
Johanna was buried there, and Nanny was still alive, and she gave an order for to bury John alongside Johanna and I'd be the other side of the, we'd be together. Eh? And then he said afterwards that she was sorry and take Pat there too.
And where is there just the three of them in the grave?
Yeah.
And where is the grave in the graveyard?
It, I know where it is, but you know the place to tell you exactly. You break the gate and you there's a big...
The afternoon in Killeagh. We have the back garden of the Grahames and our narrator Denis just about to take his seat in the interview chair. Nanny buried?
What?
Nanny was buried in the old graveyard in Clyne.
Yeah. And Johanna and John, the three of them are buried in one grave there. Or a grave with three of them in.
And once more in Killeagh, the rain comes lashing down. Just as we were about to get on with the interview. So we have him now hiding in an umbrella. And as we take a break, and with the rain coming, we take a break from location filming and take a view of the Killeagh FCA many years ago when they won a shooting competition. Our narrator, Denis Grahame, is on the bottom right of the picture. A picture of Bill and Kitty McCarthy. Kitty, of course, my mother, and Sonny's sister, and Bill McCarthy, of course, my father. This was taken on their wedding day.
Here's your ice cream whiskey. You know, fire and ice.
Now we'd like to talk about Drumdaya House.
What am I talking about?
Who lived in Drumdaya in the old days?
Hunt. I know it's Hunt. A big, strong, able man, you know, with a stick. And if he met you at the pets there, he'd want to know where you're going or what are you doing here. And you should nearly genuflect to the bloody fella.
And what did he live in that big house on his own?
Huh?
That big house, did he live in Drumdaya House on his own?
He did, with the blessed servants. There are 24 rooms in Drumdaya House.
And what about the courtyard?
That was back behind. There were stables there, and at the end there were living quarters there for the coachmen and some other parties. But there the nannies are living, you know.
And when was it sold?
Huh?
When was it sold?
Around, it was 1922 or something like that.
So he was there at the same time as Sir Basil de Capel-Brooke was in Glenbower.
They were different runs altogether. Glenbower was sold for years afterwards. And who bought it was Brooke Brazier. And it was bought for, I forget now how much. I had the price for that, I forget it. Because, I tell you why. The manners were down here, they say in Drumdaya, and they tried to persuade people that they bought Drumdaya or Glenbower. And it was here in this house the waiting was, I remember it. They were waiting there with the British ex-servicemen, and Brooke Brazier was here, and somebody put up to him about the buying of Glenbower, and that the man said that for the far crowd bought it, and he was a different crowd, and he laughed, and he said no. He said he gave it. He bought Glenbower for I know how much that he told me now. I remember hearing him say that. But the Mannies were boasting. They were all the Mannies were backing up Fianna Fáil great. Big, because I was they would get the push over it. And they tried to persuade the people that they bought it for Glenbower. And Brooke Brazier said no.
Well, do you remember the parties that Hunt used to have there?
Huh?
The parties in the wood, or the parties in Drumdaya House?
No. Them things were after gone out of Drumdaya before I got to know it.
And who looked after his garden up there?
Huh?
His garden. He had a garden.
There's 2 acres of a garden there. Jim Cashman's father and grandfather were in charge of that garden. And you nearly have to have an appointment to go in there.
Well, when you were a young fella, used you playing there?
Play?
You used to play foxes.
Oh, we used to play foxes around there, the ladders and things.
What kind of a game is foxes?
We're running through the bushes and everything else.
Pretending you're a fox?
Yeah.
Well, Hunt didn't like that, did he not?
Huh?
Hunt didn't like...
Oh no, only we thought to remember we should clear. You know, double out until it's just landing. Spoiling my place, he said. Same way with Mr. Croydon. Very same way. if you went to cut a limb off a tree, she'd hate you. And she'd tell you were spoiling her place. And look what happened to it afterwards. I remember it was Flink asked me to know they cut a limb off a tree about at the turn at the railway station there. There was a limb off a tree there, sycamore tree, and to the big lower. And Flink thought he decided to get it cut. So he asked me, you know, would they cut it, and I said I would. And of course I took the limb home and brought that. But she came along when I had the limb down and she started abusing me. You're spoiling my place. Eh? And I told her I was not. The council asked me to cut that limb down for the too low in the traffic. She walked away then when she was bad. Anything, there were all those old people were all full of that stuff.
Well, we'll visit Drumdaya House now in a few minutes. I'll go up and get some photographs of it.
I know very little about it. I only see it.
I see. In the family, getting back to the family.
What family?
Your family. Willie was the first one to get married, was he?
Right, yeah. Yes.
And where did Willie get married?
Killeagh. I was the best man.
Oh.
He had married Killeagh to a Bridie Mulcahy.
And what year would that be?
Oh, you're asking me. I couldn't tell her.
And why McGeely?
Huh?
Was she from that parish?
She was a farmer's daughter up there in Clonmult. Or something to that effect, anyhow.
So he was the...
At that stage, Willie was a wild boy, going around in horses and pubs and everything else, and apparently he fell foul with her. And Willie spent all his money in pubs and gone around wild, and he admitted it afterwards. All the money he spent foolish. And Bridie was a very good housekeeper and a nice cheerful girl. Every year around Christmas she'd always give me a pair of knitted stockings, double heels and toes of them as a present. But I was a kind of help Willie to cut timber and things like that. I'd do anything else for him, see? But then the next thing was poor Bridie died. She died of cancer of the chest in Youghal. And the next thing was he was says, well, he get married the jeweller we have here now. And Mickey hadn't spoke to him about it. She's one of the Lockrans of the cottage in Youghal. And Mickey hadn't spoke to him about it because he knew all the Lockrans. You couldn't persuade Willie anything. He was blind to everything, whatever he had in his head. And the same day, I had business with Milry, and Steve Manny's car ahead. And of course, I was at the wedding, and after the wedding, I had no more business there, and I decided to get Steve Mann take me out to Milry. And there was a dispute going on about the stations and other money, and I was like implicating it. So I said I'd take the day off and go there. And I did. And I met Father Paul Barry there, and I told him that Father Sheen turned around and told me that money was already paid. It was all right, so worry. There's another year coming and he'll be told that. So that was all right. I had me dinner there and things, you see. So.
Right, so we'll go on to May. May married Leo, did she? Leo Bozang.
I'll tell about May. All the foxy ones in the Grahame family were not solid. They were always something, see? And we were buying the houses here. Frank and myself, and we heralded it again, you see, but we were after getting money from out of insurance from John. John was after dying, you see. And Willie said to me, and there, the best thing you can do now while you have that money is go and buy the houses. So we did that. And we left it to me to carry on. And she went into Care and Jarl to buy the houses, and she never mentioned Frank or me. And when we went when the next thing said, yeah, Willie texted me out there in the hall about something, and he actually Willie put her out the house. And we went into the yard, into Cain, and Cain threw us out. And I know nothing all about you. Yeah? I said, item, you'll not before you'll be in bed tonight. So we went into Hodnet, and we told our story to Hodnet and everything. Hodnet took the case out. Hodnet turned around and bought the houses. And I bought the 2 houses for £87 then.
Well then,
That was that. So me and Leo were eliminated from here then again, and they lived above in Cork Road in the house there that was called the Forge. There they were living for a long time until they got the cottage beyond in Ballymacourt, and they shifted down there. Now a couple of times we met Leo, even over a convent of different places, and he'd go to stand the drinks here. We take the drink, and he'd take no drink back, you see. We're very stuck up with that. And the result was that you couldn't make head nor tail of him. And see, he'd only one leg. That was our objection, marrying a one-leg man. She married, if he had 2 legs, he was all right.
well, she died in 1951.
Yeah, he came home he was home in Ireland, and he wasn't good, and he left Ireland and went back to England to die. Stubborn again, you know. You couldn't make the leg of him out. Now he had a son there, John, a bloody lunatic. Oh, he was in the army, and I was at the time the LDF, you know, and I was in and out the army, and a couple of officers asked me about him, and they said to me, do you know much about him? Not too much, say. I know it's like he's a queer hawk. And they said he left the army 1 day before his discharge. To be him, say.
Well,
and he went off to England.
Well then, Kitty, my mother.
Well,
Do you remember her getting married?
who?
Kitty.
Oh yeah. She was working in Cork in a draper shop there, Cummins's, for years. And she would come down here on weekends and things, see, with Mama. And that was all right. But the next thing was on here, the job was shut down. For the time of it, they were shutting down everywhere. And she came home, and she'd only 12 shillings a week doled in. She was here and with me. I was here and she was here. And we were working away nice steady. I had 15, and she had 12.
Were you on the dole as well?
Huh?
Were you on the dole as well?
Yeah. And we fed away like that. And the next thing was, she fell in love with Bill Carty. They speak sorting around there and things. And that was that. She got married. I'd say she'd never marry him if she had a job. Yeah. But Bill Carty was all right.
Tell us about Frank then.
Huh?
Well, Frank went to England, did he?
He did. See, Willie got a job for Frank below Mayonnaise. And Frank was all right then, but he turned drink there. At Mayonnaise, you should put your money up in the counter on Friday or Saturday and drink it. See? And Frank was wrong then. And the next thing I did chat to him and I told him, say, listen, the best thing you could do is I go to England. There's nothing here for you now. And I remember I gave him a pound going off and he went off to England and he was in some job there. He was in a job there and he had £12 a week. And I hadn't £12 a week and still I had more money than he had. He come home on holidays and I used to go to the railway station, see him off. And when he'd be inside in the train, he'd come out the door and he'd ask for a laundry tin bob. So I'd have to get on with it. To work. So I would choose them morning and it was hardly 9 o'clock and our Hogan sitting me at the gate and got on to me, what time in the morning is we come to work? And he had £4 pie and he gave me a hill and he told me, go on, go home. I walked up here, half dressed myself, got my bike and cycled into Yall, into the Labour Exchange, and there were 7 fellas lined up inside there for the Shannon, and I joined them. And after the Shannon on Wednesday. And I was there for 9 days and I got sick, and the doctor sent me home out with it.
Well, now let's go back down to the Grahames. Your father.
Yeah.
Your father was Denis Grahame.
Yeah.
Your grandfather. Do you know anything about your grandfather?
No. He might be... I couldn't tell what his name was.
According to this, your grandfather was John Grahame.
Yeah, it could be.
And he was a hedge school teacher in County Tipperary.
Yes. They were all teachers, I think.
Where he was born, and he married a Catherine Lehan in 1851. And they were teaching, or he was teaching in Feathered to 1852. So then apparently he came to Connacht.
Yes.
And he came to Mitchelstown and to Connacht. And he was in Killeagh in 1862. Something like that. So Denis Grahame, your father, was born in Feathered in 1852. In 1854, he was born in Feathered. And when your grandfather came to Killeagh, he must have come with him. Because according to this, your grandfather, John Grahame, was teaching in Killeagh from 1863 to 1868. Well, now, who did your father marry then?
My father was married to a Locklear woman. My grandmother's daughter, Locklear.
Oh, that's right, yeah. But who was your grandfather married to?
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't know.
Wasn't there some connection with the Ahern's in Youghal?
That's a marriage business. Maris Ahern married, what do I call her? Kathleen Ahern. Ahern was her name. I don't know, Kathleen Grahame. She's better over in the old Grahame too.
Oh, she was your father's sister. Maris Ahern married your father's sister.
Yeah, exactly.
And her name was Catherine as well, was she? Was she Catherine as well?
Catherine name. The name. She was buried there and all the Ahrens. She the mother of all the Ahrens was buried there. There was none of them buried there, it was the yard they were buried. She was buried there, and the strange thing about it, there's 2 graves there. And I can't figure out here, never. There's one of the graves was belonged to a Hyde woman from Middleton. And I tried to find out now what had the Hydes to do with it, and I couldn't trace it. And I asked Martha Ahern one day, now why didn't they take an independent grave? Because she used to say, well, we'll bury there's a couple of graves there, and they could be easily buried there, see? So I don't know the answer he gave me, but he never came to be buried there either in the yard.
So her husband was Morris Ahern. He was buried in Youghal.
Oh?
Morris Ahern. Say your aunt
Morris Ahern.
was married to your aunt
Yeah,
in Youghal.
yeah,
Now they had 10 children as well, hadn't they?
exactly. Exactly.
So your father had 10 and they had 10.
Yeah,
So Pidgey and Nora,
no, you're
Morris, they were all your first cousins.
they were. And there was Pidgey and Nora, and there were 7 girls there and 3 boys. There was the 3 boys were Jack, Mick, and Morris Ahern. There were 3 of the sons. Morris Ahern was in the British Army as an officer. And he also was a good alcoholic. They were all 3 were the same. They all burned us about with whiskey. For Pidgey had the shop, and Jack had no job, and he used to be doing the jobs around for her every day, and every night the profit of the day would go into his pocket for the pub. And Pidgey never said a word, I think.
Well, they
Then you had Nora in the kitchen saying it.
well they had very little offspring.
Huh?
They had very little children. That 10.
No. Morris had a boy and a girl from a Lynch woman that was living, the Lynches now, they're supposed to be the great Republicans back there in somewhere in Youghal. She's buried there.
So that boy died. So now there's only the one girl,
Yeah.
the one offspring. There's only the one girl from all that 10.
Yeah.
Her name, I think, was Kay. She was Kay Ahern.
There's Carol Kay.
Yeah.
You see, they were all very well educated and fairly well do, you know. There was no such thing half, but they were all finished right.
Well, was that the only aunt you had? Or had you any other aunts?
There are many,
Well, that was Nanny was your grandmother.
yeah.
But had you any aunts or uncles?
No, not that I know.
And what was the Colbert connection?
The Colberts are different crowd. The mother of the Colberts was she a Boogan? Well, I couldn't tell her. They were distant relations in here. You know, long ago, so grand to be saying I'm a cousin to so and so. So a lot of that going on long ago.
Well, getting back then to your grandfather. Your grandfather, of course, you never knew Lachlan. You never knew Lachlan. He went to America and we never heard of him since.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever hear anything about him afterwards?
It's all I heard them saying, and yeah, when they were trying to look him up, was that he was supposed to be running a candy factory in America. Candy was a big thing that time. And where they got the information that time was from what do I call him? The Candy King. He was to come home. He had a place outside it. And he used to come to Ireland. He ordered Black where do I call it? The place up there. He owned it at Hennessy at Balmacoda, made him give him the place. And Hennessy at Balmacoda, the pint was better than the place.
To recap then, as I say, John Grahame was your grandfather, and he was a teacher, a head school teacher, who went to various parts of the country.
Hello. I can see myself all right.
Can you see yourself?
I can.
Just yourself coming closer.
That's right. Don't bring me any closer.
How are you now?
Fine. What do you call that thing anyway?
This is a video.
Oh.
So it's going on to the television there now.
I see it. That's marvellous what you can do.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
Take you back.
Take me back as far as you can.
How's that?
That's fine. Take me back further. Put me out of existence. Did you take Sonny?
Oh, I did, yes. I was just taking him there when you came in.
Oh, sorry about that. He's taking our photographs, Sonny.
Huh?
He's taking our photographs.
And I'm sick of it.
You're sick of it. So, of course you are.
And I'm going to go from here now for a bit of exercise.
Well, you want to put your cap on your head. You want to cover your head. A professional one. It's your wedding. Your mother. I'm somewhere there. Am I not? Vera got dress shows there. See her? See Vera? The white dress? See her? I know. A navy dress and a white collar or something. And the coffees are there. What's that? That's Stella. After. Janine look well there.
Yes, this was 1958.
Do you know what? Talk about a child being happy with a toy.
I just wanted to put that thing.
Don't show my photograph on your video.
When history comes to be written about Killeagh, there's a man that will forever feature in it, and it's Joe Barry, the man who was able to stand north, south, east and west all at the one time. Now Joe, how's that?
Van.
And now we have reached Drumdaya House, a place that Sonny spoke about. This is the house which was once owned by Hunt. One of the gentry of Killeagh in the early part of the century. 24 bedrooms, a house of revelry, parties, nightlife and grandeur. Drumdaya House overlooking the fields all the ways to Youghal. Capel Island away in the distance. A wonderful panoramic view from the house known as Drumdaya House. Front door that was, in all its grandeur, in all its columns, in all its magnificence, until about 1922. This was the big house in Killeagh. The view from the house overlooking the wonderful pastures of East Cork between Killeagh and Youghal. Now a ruin, the place that was once so magnificent. Here where the soccer goals are, once the tennis courts, where the nobility of Munster played their tennis games. The walls of the garden still to be seen. A garden tended with loving care, where each plant was precious, where each tree was a heritage. What elegant feet walked underneath these pillars almost 100 years ago.
Stand here.
You stand there now, you'll be grand. Where'd you get them?
I shan't have one. You got one. Come up here.
Will you get me here, Will?
Now, what's a good hurl now?
Huh?
What's a good hurley?
What is it?
What makes a good hurley?
Good dash. Good dash.
Is that a good one now you have in your hand?
Oh, that's a grand one. That's for the one they say something good for it.
Would that be good now for Damien Irwin?
Oh, he wouldn't use it like that. That would be too easy for him. He's a weak man.
That'll come out of
Never come out of where.
Still raining.
Dang.
The rain is beating on the roof here.
Oh.
As we left Killeagh on that October day, that October wet and windy afternoon, we said goodbye to our little view of the village, view of the history of the village, view of the village in the 20th century, as seen through the eyes of Denis Grahame, Dinny as he's known locally, or indeed Uncle Sonny as we know him. So it was the story of Killeagh through his eyes, the story of the Grahame family from his father's side and from his mother's side. So we conclude this programme on Killeagh and the Grahames, as recorded and spoken to me on that fateful weekend in October 1990.